Alrighty, how's it going, Mets and overall baseball fans? I am exhausted. It has been truly an insane and remarkable past 24 hours for the team in Queens after landing Carlos Correa on that massive 12-year, $350 million contract. We see the highlights there. We've already done 2 separate live streams on Correa, and it was only fitting that we keep Correa in the live stream today. And I do realize my visuals may be dropping for a minute. If they do, I apologize, everyone. Don't worry, they will pick back up again. I've been running my computer all day, but we do have breaking news right now, and it's so, anticlimactic. It's so underwhelming to the point that I couldn't even warrant wanting to put James McCann highlights in this video to give a tribute, because how many highlights does James McCann have as a New York Met? I mean, seriously, the fact that this man is gone, he is Mick gone, that is James McCann, as he goes to the Baltimore Orioles. The Mets are eating 75% of this schmuck's salary, and in return, the Mets are getting a player to be named later. So even though the Mets are still eating around $19 million on that contract, I Bleav, of McCann, they are saving $8 million in doing so. So Mets, they were able to get a suitor to simply just dump McCann out there. Darren Ruff certainly will be next, I'd imagine, of a guy that will be dumped. Darren Ruff will not be on this Mets team next year. I can assure you that one. And we all knew that this was going to happen after the Mets signed Omar Narvaez to that 2-year deal of recent. Narvaez, a veteran catcher, hits from the left side. Hopefully going to give you more production than what we got from McCann in the past couple years, but will also help pave the way for Francisco Alvarez, being a fellow Venezuelan, kind of putting him under his wing. I'm looking forward to seeing how that connection is going to go between themselves and also Tomas Nido. So the Mets, as of now, have 2 bona fide catchers for the upcoming year and a top prospect that's looking to really make an impact as soon as this upcoming season after making his debut with an injured ankle that we saw down the stretch in the 2022 season. But guys, shout out to everyone here first time in the live stream or watching replay. I greatly appreciate that. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe button. Really do appreciate it. This is not going to be a long live show by any stretch. I'm absolutely exhausted today. Okay. So if anything crazy happens tonight, then obviously I'll do my best to get back on here. But this, I just want to hop on quick. We'll spend, I don't know how long we're going to be live here, but it isn't going to be too long. I'll get to your questions and stuff. But for anyone wondering why the Mets just dumped James McCann, I don't know. It's almost like James McCann was absolute God. He was dog shit during his time in Queens. There's no being around the bush regarding James McCann. Again, I was a heavy fan of James McCann when he first arrived in Queens as a casual fan of the White Sox. I looked at James McCann and I was like, oh, I really liked what he was doing in Chicago. Platoon time there. He comes to the Mets. The Mets, that was their plan B option for not deciding to wait and grind things out with JT Realmuto 2 off seasons ago. And now you see James McCann, first year with the Mets, 121 games played, 10 home runs, 29 runs scored, 46 RBIs, a 232 average, a sub 300 OPP, and a sub 350 slug. Then this past season, dealing with ailments left and right, and also just not being good for the most part. James McCann, in 61 games in his 32-year age season, he had himself 3 home runs, 19 runs scored, 18 RBIs, a $195 batting average, a 257 OBP, a 282 slug. James McCann, I thank you for your community work. You are by all means a great guy, I'm sure. I wish you and your family well in Baltimore, but that's all. That's really all I got to leave it when discussing James McCann. I don't need to expand much more than that. The Mets dumped the guy that they knew that they didn't want on this roster next season. Mick double play is Mick gone, baby. That's awesome because we were all fed up with those ground balls that James McCann famously was hitting time and time after again. I mean, this guy has always been an automatic out, 1,000%. Let's see. Someone said check Nightingale. I'll check Nightingale. But again, the Mets are not going to get a good player at all from what I saw. Mark Feinstein said the Mets aren't getting any type of, decent prospect. It doesn't matter who the player to be named later. You could literally ask for a bag of chips, baseball, literally a physical baseball. A bag of rosin would be the equivalent of a return that you'd expect for James McCann after how he has performed or lack thereof these past 2 years in Queens. And again, nothing personal, but let's keep it a buck. This guy was absolutely atrocious here, and now he goes on. And again, for a guy making $40 million on that total contract, it's kind of ridiculous when you're having my co-host's numbers and Anthony Recker. I mean, Reck wishes he was making the money that we saw McCann got and really steal from the Mets and how piss poor he was during his time here. It's ridiculous. It really is. But again, he's off. He's in the sunset. Good for you, James. Whoop the effing do. I'm glad to not be thinking about you anymore. I'm happy to be thinking about Omar Narvaez, Tomas Nido, and Francisco Alvarez as the Mets catching position going forward. Let me check real quick, guys. Let's see what Bob Nightingale has to say. I'm going to get some donations. And then, like I said, we're not going to be in the show long. It's not going to be a crazy long live stream. People on replay, make sure to smash that like and subscribe on. And of course, I have to let you all know real quick that today's show, as always, is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for all your sports betting needs. So make sure you head over to betonline.ag using promo code Bleav at BLEAV. That way you get yourself a 50% off welcome bonus. BetOnline, it's where the games begin. And now, folks, let's let the show begin. Again, appreciate everyone being in here, guys. Thank you so much for the support. But let's see. What did he say? Catcher Brian McCann, who spoke to Orioles GM Mike Elias, is thrilled for news to Brian McCann. Oh my God, that's schmuck. That's funny. That's so funny. I don't blame him for not getting the name right. I don't blame him one bit. That's hilarious. And again, the Mets are going to be eating 75% of the remaining contract for James McCann, but they will overall save $8 million by parting ways with James and this salary dump for a player to be named later. And again, whoever that player is, whoop-de-doo. Looking forward to seeing you in Queens. It's not going to be anything crazy, and that's more than fine. Let me get to some donations here, folks, and then we're going to be wrapping up the show in the next 10 minutes. Like I said, this is not going to be a long one tonight. I'm not dragging out James McCann being dealt as a salary dump for more than 15, 20 minutes. I'm not doing that. I'm got no desire, no energy, no strength to do that today. But I appreciate the fact that we have roughly 1,000 viewers because you guys are crazy and you are diehards, and I love you all so much. So thank you so much for the support, guys. I appreciate that. Dean says, have to jump in right away on this one. Bye-bye, Jimmy. Absolutely. Appreciate that donation, Dean. Hype in the chat to you. Charles, I used to pray for times like this, my boy. Literally. Isn't it nuts how I'm rolling Carlos Correa highlights here right now? Like, see, that actually happened. It's still so hard to fathom. I'm still in Carlos Correa land. James McCann leaving is just a little, it's the cherry on top to the past 24 hours. Charles, thank you for the donut. Mark, thank you for the $20 donation. I appreciate that as well. Thank you so much for that, brother. And again, the biggest thing that pisses me off about James McCann is I was a heavy favor. I was in favor of him when the Mets acquired him, like by a lot. So to see him come here and do nothing but, be the opposite of good was beyond frustrating. So yeah, a lot of Mets fans are by no means bothered by this move. I heard internally that, McCann's are ready to move on as well. Other than just pure disappointment on their part, I'd imagine, because it's not like, that they're in the wrong from the performance standpoint. The Mets didn't handle James McCann poorly. So I hope that isn't something that's going on in their head, because if it is, and by God, they're not paying attention. A little blinded there. Marvin, thank you for the donation. He says, we could have traded McCann for a thank you. Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much for the donut, Marvin. I appreciate that. He is very nice. Oh, I'm sure he is very nice. He's great with community work. He was just a finalist for the Roberto Clemente Award, was he not, this past year? Yeah, no. James McCann is a selfless human being. No ill will against him personally on what he's done for the community. He just wasn't a good ball player here, and the Mets need someone better at the catching spot, and hopefully they get that with Omar Narvaez and some Francisco Alvarez for the upcoming season, along with, of course, Tomas Nido. You'd have a 2-minute long live stream if you went over McCann's highlights. Seriously. And funny enough, I've seen one of McCann's 13 home runs as a Met in person. And that was in 2021, early in the season. Phillies versus Mets at Citi Field, was sitting like right behind the Mets dugout. David Peterson on the bump, shoved against the Phillies and Zach Wheeler. That was an awesome game. And James McCann hit a home run late in that one. That was a lot of fun. Dan, thank you for the donation. McCann was such a disappointment. I talked him up to everyone who would listen 2 years ago, and he turned out to be garbage. Good guy, bad player. Now get some sleep, dude. Yeah, I will in a minute, Dan. Thank you for the donation. I appreciate that. But guys, once more for people in the back, James McCann has been traded for a player to be named later. Of course, if you're new to the channel, please don't hesitate from smashing that like and subscribe button. Again, for all my OGs, thank you so much for being in here live or on replay. Stay tuned. We're going to have a lot of great content coming on the channel per usual that you're going to see plenty of in the coming days. I definitely believe that the Mets have more moves up their sleeve prior to Christmas. And I think that goes directly in hand with the Chicago White Sox and or the free agent market. So we'll see what happens there. Mets have more moves coming. Steve Cohen casually spending $800 million this offseason and still isn't done. Salary dumping a guy that no one wanted to see back in Queens. It really could not have gone much better as a Met fan so far this offseason, and they have more to get into. So make sure to check out our Bleav in Queens podcast that came out earlier today, breaking down the Carlos Correa signing. Myself, former New York Met, who was actually breaking down Correa's move as well as an MLB Network analyst earlier today on television, that being an Anthony Recker, and Joe Serralo, my other co-host. We broke it all down and shared our raw reactions along with what is next for the Mets. So make sure to check that one out if you haven't already. It's not only available on YouTube and, of course, wherever you get your audio podcasts. But, guys, thank you so much. Love you so much. Thank you endlessly for the support, and I'll see you again more than likely tomorrow for another live stream or individual video. Whatever comes out regarding the Metropolitans, we'll make sure to break it down. But, yes, James McCann is James McGone, and the Mets have their catching tandem at 3-piece heading into the 2023 season. Thank you so much, folks. Have a great one. Peace out.